Ever snap at your kid, say something harsh, and then lie awake thinking, did I just damage them for life? You're not the only one. But what if I told you that a real apology doesn't just fix feelings, it changes their brain chemistry? Here's what most parents don't know. A sincere apology from a parent has been shown to lower cortisol in children within minutes. It doesn't just heal emotions. It literally calms their nervous system in the best way possible. By the end of this video, I'll show you exactly how to say, I'm sorry, in a way that builds trust, models emotional strength, and creates the safety your kid needs to grow. Not performative, not dramatic, just real. And that kind of an apology changes everything. But first, let's talk about the myth that's been passed down for generations. The myth of the all-knowing, always right parent. The myth of the all-knowing parent. There's this quiet pressure, maybe from how we were raised, that say parents should always be in control, always confident, always right. But you see, kids don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be genuine. And real people mess up. Real people say things in frustration. Real people lose it sometimes. When you act like you're never wrong, you're not protecting your authority. You're building distance. You're teaching them that power equals denial, that love doesn't make room for mistakes. But when you admit you got it wrong, you crack open the door for trust. And your kid sees something they'll never forget, that it's safe to be human around you. That's why when you apologize to your kids, you're not giving up authority. You're building emotional safety. The 3-second mistake that sticks. Let's be honest. Sometimes we shout. Sometimes we say things that don't match the size of the moment. Once, I yelled at my son for spilling juice on my laptop. He went totally quiet. Hours later, he said, "I'm sorry I ruined everything." That's when I realized he wasn't talking about the juice anymore. And here's what we need to grasp. Kids may forget the words, but they remember the tone. In fact, brain scans show that kids store emotional tone as a survival signal. It bypasses logic completely. They remember the wave of shame, or the flinch, or the quiet afterward. So, what do? You stop. You breathe. You say, what I said wasn't fair. I was frustrated, but that didn't give me the right to speak to you like that. You don't need a parenting book for that. You need honesty and a tiny ego funeral. But here's the mistake most people make when they try to apologize. Why I'm sorry isn't enough. Apologizing to your kid isn't like apologizing for bumping into someone at Starbucks. You don't get to say, sorry, my bad, flash a tight smile, and bolt with your iced oat milk like nothing happened. Because your kid, they're not listening for the word. They're listening for the feeling behind it. They're scanning you like a tiny emotional FBI agent with a juice box in one hand and a heartbreak detector in the other, wondering, am I still safe with you, even when you're angry? A real apology isn't rushed. It isn't dramatic. And it definitely isn't the classic, okay, I said sorry, can we move on now? Also, why are you still crying like I burned your favorite stuffed elephant at the stake? No. A real apology is the opposite of defensiveness. It's the opposite of performance. It's human. It sounds more like, I yelled at you when you dropped the milk. Full stop. You don't say, because I just cleaned the floor and your brother was screaming and my phone was ringing and I haven't slept since the Obama administration. Nope. You stop. You name exactly what happened. Clearly, calmly, out loud. Because your kid doesn't need your justifications. They need your presence. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about doing this parenting thing with your heart. So hit that subscribe button. Not for me, but for you. Now, back to the part most people skip. You name how it probably felt, even if they didn't cry, even if they went silent, even if they rolled their eyes like a tiny CEO with too many meetings and not enough applesauce. You still say, that probably made you feel small or scared, or like you ruined everything over one tiny accident. You don't need them to confirm it. You're not asking for validation. You're doing something much more powerful. You're telling them, I saw it. I saw what I did. I see what it did to you. That's the moment when repair begins. And then, deep breath, you take ownership. I don't mean corporate speak ownership, like, we're sorry if this was upsetting, or mistakes were made by some people, somewhere, probably not me. I mean real, grown-up, bite the inside of your cheek and say it kind of ownership. That was on me. You didn't deserve that. No qualifiers, no side eye toward their behavior, no, but you were being kind of difficult. No. You just sit in the moment and let the silence happen. That squirmy, weird, throat-tight silence where they don't say anything. When your inner fixer wants to throw in a joke, or distract him with a cookie, or pivot to, hey, want to watch Bluey? Just to not feel like a monster. But you don't. You just stay. Because here's the secret no one tells you. If your apology makes you squirm, it's probably healing something in them. It's disarming shame. It's unwinding a belief before it cements. It's taking a moment that could have been quietly formative in the worst way and making it safe again. And no, they may not hug you right away. They may grunt and go back to their Legos like nothing happened. But somewhere, deep in the place where their blueprint for love and safety is being built, that apology gets filed under, it's okay to be imperfect and still be loved. That file is worth more than 1,000 gold star charts or perfectly timed chore wheels. Repair is greater than perfection. Here's a secret. Good parents don't avoid mistakes. They repair them. Repair means circling back, maybe an hour later, maybe the next morning, and saying, can we talk about earlier? I want to make sure you're okay. When you take time to circle back and repair the relationship, you show your child that love doesn't disappear with mistakes. It's about showing them that time doesn't make you forget. It makes you care more. And over time, your kid stops fearing disconnection because they've learned that even when things go wrong, love circles back. And research shows this helps children regulate shame and improves emotional memory long term. The apology is for them, but it changes you too. You're not apologizing to be the cool parent. You're not apologizing because you lost control. You're apologizing because you want your child to become the kind of person who owns their mistakes, knows how to forgive, feels safe even when others mess up. And here's the twist. Every time you give your kid the apology you never got, a younger version of you breathes a little easier too. So what if your kid doesn't accept your apology? Well, that's where most parents freak out. But it's not what you think. What if they don't accept it? Here's the scary part. Sometimes you say sorry and your kid shrugs or goes quiet or says, it's fine, even though it's clearly not. This doesn't mean you failed. It means they're still processing. The point of an apology isn't immediate forgiveness. It's to plant a flag that says, I care more about this connection than being right. That stays with them, even if they don't say a word. When to apologize and when not to. Here's where nuance matters. You don't apologize for setting boundaries, not for stopping them from hitting, not for saying no to a dangerous choice, not for having rules, but you do apologize for how you enforced them. You need a consequence, but I shouldn't have yelled. It was the right rule, but I handled it the wrong way. This teaches them that firmness and kindness can exist in the same sentence. The quickest way to build emotional safety. Want to build trust faster than any deep talk? Say this and mean it. You never have to be scared to tell me how you feel. Then prove it. Stay calm when they share hard things. Don't punish honesty. Be vulnerable with them. When they see you own your emotions instead of weaponizing them, they relax. They open up. They trust. Okay, so what's really at stake if you skip all this? More than you think. Why this matters more than you think. A kid who grows up hearing real apologies, regulates shame, builds resilience, learns empathy, feels safe in relationships, and most importantly, knows love doesn't disappear when things get messy. That's not just parenting. And here's something you've never thought of. Most adults today never heard a real apology from their own parents. You're breaking a generational cycle just by doing this. That's legacy. What to say when you don't know what to say. Let's make this easy. This isn't a press conference. You're not issuing a public statement. You're just talking to a small human who once cried because their banana broke wrong. Try, I raised my voice. I was overwhelmed. That wasn't your fault. Or, I treated something small like it was huge. That wasn't fair. Or, I said I'd show up and I didn't. That matters. I want to make it right. Or just, I had a hard day and I took it out on you. I'm sorry. That's it. Not perfect, just real. And real, that's what they remember. And here's the wild part. Kids who regularly hear genuine apologies from caregivers are statistically more likely to become emotionally secure adults with lower risk of anxiety and relationship issues later in life. The apology is the gift. If your child grows up thinking their parent never messed up, they'll spend their adult life terrified of making mistakes. But if they grow up seeing you say, I was wrong, and I love you enough to admit it, then they learn something powerful. That love isn't perfection. It's repair. It's presence. It's the brave little choice to circle back and say, I care about this moment enough to fix it.